Oh, I think now my mic's working. Hello. Hello. All right. Still getting used to this YouTube thing. Last week was awesome. NFL usually does a great job making sure we have a good slate in week one. I think they nailed it. This week looks to be exciting as well. I don't know if we'll have quite the same fireworks, but there's a lot of interesting matchups. You know what game I'm going to be watching? But I wanted to run through the rest of the stuff on the slate. Just give a couple points for things to look out for and what I'm excited to watch. Giants Cowboys, obviously that's my team. I thought Russell Wilson looked absolutely horrible. I think if there's another beat down with the offense looking how it did last week, we might see Jackson Dart a little bit sooner than later. Thought the Cowboys offense was looking really good against the Eagles. A little bit more creativity there. I do think is a little aggressive in the end game scenario. Got the ball down by 4, 3 minutes left in the game, and you just huck it deep 4 times in a row. I don't understand why we were so aggressive in that moment. I don't know if Dak was just big play hunting or what. I'd like to see a little bit more measured this week, if that's possible. Maybe distribute the running back reps a little differently after that Miles Sanders fumble. I'd also curious to see if anyone else is going to start at linebacker because Kenneth Murray and Jack Sanborn looked bad. And I don't think it could hurt to rotate someone else in there at least a little bit more. Seahawks Steelers. I think the Steelers Jets game was one of the biggest surprises last week for just how explosive and high scoring it wound up being. Arthur Smith is doing Arthur Smith things up there. He's not utilizing Caleb Johnson at all, which is tragic for all my fantasy teams, but that's okay. I guess is that Kenneth Gainwell that he was giving a lot of carries to, and Jalen Warren are just going to carry that backfield. Saw Calvin Johnson have a really nice game. Yet another one of these really small, shifty receivers having success, as we've seen lately. The Seahawks, I think things looked a little disjointed on offense. I don't think Sam Darnold had his best game, but it wasn't horrific or anything like that. They were still very much in that Niners game. JSN was playing really well. I would like to see a little bit more of the running back duo take off with the Seahawks. I mean, you got Gray Zabel out there for a reason. I'd like to see them stay a little bit more committed to that. I think the Steelers probably pull this one out. I bet it'll be a bit of a close game, though. Rams Titans. The Rams put up a pretty good performance against the Texas defense that is, really talented. I do think that with the Rams, we're kind of just in a wait and see mode, right? We all know the deal. If Stafford can stay healthy and they don't have any other tragic injuries, they're probably a playoff contender. I think we're all sort of holding our breath to see if Matthew Stafford can stay healthy that long. And as far as the Titans go, man, can we just help Cam Ward out a little bit more? It has so many dropped passes and whiffed assignments. I mean, there's one point where he goes to throw a screen, but all 3 receivers are out there blocking. No one turns around to get the ball. Just frustrating stuff. You could see Cam Ward's dad getting upset in the stands because it was a tough watch. Cam was also taking some pretty rough sacks. I think for an NFL debut, it was a pretty good performance. I know he's a rookie, but I really want to see Brian Callahan cut this guy loose and let him go big play hunting a little bit more, be a little bit more dynamic and creative. I want to see him get out of the pocket and do that stuff that he got drafted for. I mean, you're an underdog team, just like you were last week, and just like you're going to be almost every week. You're going to win off of taking risky shots for explosive plays, and that's it. That's it for the Titans this year. I hope they lean into it a little bit more instead of trying to be conservative. Bills Jets. Wow, the Bills coming off a super exciting win against the Ravens, but I bet a tiring one. I wonder if they'll be a little bit sluggish in the first quarter, or if Brian Dable has them. Not Brian Dable. Who am I thinking of? what's his name? Is that Sean McDermott? Absolutely. Yes, that is Sean McDermott. Haven't had enough coffee this morning. Sean McDermott has these guys ready to play again. Like I said, that Jets Steelers game was pretty impressive as far as the offense is looking better than I imagined. Is Justin Fields going to have another good game? Is Justin Fields' reclamation project the next Sam Darnold experience this year? I don't think it's would be that crazy to see that. I think Justin Fields has always had the talent. Maybe just needed the right situation. Sure, he's probably never going to be one of those top 10 guys like we had maybe hoped when he got drafted, but quality starter, some rushing upside. I don't see why not. Interested to see if they can keep things flowing there. Get Breece Hall and the rest of that backfield involved again. For the Bills, I just want to keep seeing this defense. I want to see them play better. There were some really tough moments in that Ravens game, obviously. Josh Allen is Josh Allen, though, and the Ravens punted at a time that was a bit controversial. Gave the Bills a chance. Josh Allen's always going to capitalize on those opportunities, or at least he's going to convert those opportunities to wins at a higher clip than most people in the league. I do think the Jets will probably get stomped here. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a little bit closer than you'd imagine. I don't think it's going to be like 40-10 or something. Maybe more of like a 10-point gap. Be interesting to see if Aaron Glenn's Jets can stay in on this one. Patriots Dolphins, gosh. If the Dolphins drop this one, the narratives are going to be disgusting. The vibes are going to be even worse somehow. I mean, it was supposed to be after the fall of the Patriots post Brady. The narrative was that, other than the Bills, maybe the Dolphins are going to rise up in this division and kind of assert themselves as a more serious team with Mike McDaniel. Yikes. Got absolutely dusted by the Colts last week. I think if you lose another one to a division rival and a Patriots team that's not supposed to be, a serious contender this year, that might spell the end. I mean, I know it's only week 2, but 2 brutal losses to open the year is going to be tough to come back for Mike McDaniel. Jags Bengals. It was really nice last week to see the Jags have success. I think they put up like 26 points against the Panthers, who are talented but not, exceptional defense. Even though Trevor Lawrence didn't have an amazing game, I think you're already seeing the effect of Liam Cohen being over there. I wonder what happens when Trevor Lawrence does have a good game. And he just might against this Bengals defense that struggled to contain the Browns and Joe Flacco. The Bengals offense in the usual September slump. Something's got to change, man. It was probably their best week 1 in a while, which is saying something. Simply because they didn't lose to an inferior team, but that performance was very lackluster. If this team can just get out of their early season funk a week or 2 earlier so they can actually make the playoffs this year, I think that's a good outcome. We all want to see T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, and Joe Burrow ball out, and Chase Brown, now that he seems to be a bit more featured. We all want to see it. The NFL's better when the Bengals are playing good offense. Hopefully we don't have to wait for Halloween for that to happen. For the Jags, we're always going to be keeping our eye on Travis Hunter. Probably a couple of years before we stop checking out his snap counts. I want to see Brian Thompson have a big game. I think it's very possible. Secondary here is pretty weak. And I want to see BTJ go crazy. I think the Jags probably pull this one out. That's my prediction. That's my thoughts. Niners, Saints. We finally get to see the alternate universe where Kyle Shanahan did draft Mac Jones. And I'll tell you here right now, I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to be very successful. I think his performance, stepping in for Brock Purdy here, is going to lead to Mac Jones getting an opportunity, at least, maybe as like a bridge quarterback, to start somewhere next year. I think he's got the talent for it. I'm sure he's not a high upside quarterback necessarily. He's not going to bust into that top 7 tier. for the likes of Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, any of those guys. But I think he deserves to be a starter in this league. Maybe a low end starter, sure, but I think we're going to see it this year. I know he's going to be running out there with Jake Tongas and such, but I believe in Kyle Shanahan. The Saints are not an overwhelming force. And you heard it here first. Mac Jones getting a starting opportunity next year off the back of this alternative timeline playing with Kyle Shanahan finally. For the Saints, I thought Spencer Rattler could have played worse. I think he got let down by a lot of his receivers. But interesting to see how stubborn Kellen Moore is with his play calling. If we don't see things get changed up a little bit. Not like it was atrocious last week or anything, but I think he might want to lean into some different concepts, pull some different levers, and maybe be a little less reliant on certain players. But I think the Niners sneak this one out, keep their season alive. Browns, Ravens, man, it looks like it's going to be a stomp. So does that mean the Ravens are going to drop it? Does that mean that the Ravens are going to hit us with another heartbreaking loss that doesn't make any sense? I hope not. I want to see dominance. I don't want to see them take the foot off the gas pedal at all this time. Go up early on these Browns, run them into the ground. They're not going to be able to come back on you. And just be the dominant contender that you're meant to be, Baltimore. Please. We all love Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. Just stop Ravensing. Please stop Ravensing. It's so brutal each year to sit here and talk about what a great contender this team's going to be just to get embarrassed in these crazy moments. I don't know if it's a Todd Monken thing, a Harbaugh thing, or what. But I mean, this team should be punching it this year. And I think they will. I think these Browns are going to get absolutely folded over. Really fun to watch Myles Garrett work, as always. Really curious to see if this Browns offense is competent again. I mean, they were extremely competent against the Bengals. Now, exactly, it's the Bengals. You should be. But I saw Dylan Sampson get involved. Harold Fannin Jr. getting involved. One of my favorites. I'd like to see him fully take that job from David Njoku, even if that's unlikely. But yeah, I mean, if this Browns offense can just be competent after all of that Deshaun Watson stink and mess that we went through, it'd be huge for the Browns. I'd be excited to see it. We're also going to see Quinshaw Judkins. Maybe. I think so. Be interesting to see how heavy of a workload he gets after having literally no offseason whatsoever and been with the team having signed with the team just a week ago, I think, if that. Interesting debut for, an exciting running back. Bears, Lions. Both of these teams are really hurting after getting, having brutal losses in week 1 to a division opponent. I think it'd mean a lot to Bears fans if Caleb Williams can play a little bit crisper. I think some of that shine is really starting to come off of Caleb Williams, and where, I think he'll continue to have a long leash, but we're starting to get there. He needs to start showing it. We're going to get to 20 starts here in a little bit, and that's a lot of tape. That's a lot of time to watch a guy play in this league, and he hasn't shown that he's the guy that they drafted him to be. And maybe he never will be, but we need to start seeing that growth a little bit. I'd like to see Ben Johnson, handle some of the operational stuff a little bit better, manage the clock a little bit better. I know it's his first head coaching duties, and maybe Dan Campbell was taking some of that off his plate, letting him be a mad scientist in the garage, just dialing up offensive plays. But man, it would be nice. It would be nice to see this Bears team have a little bit more success. And what happens to Colston Loveland and Luther Burden? Are they going to get a little bit more involved this week, or is it going to be more of a tumultuous start to their careers? I really hope, for a lot of personal fantasy and gambling reasons, that they have a good year, those two rookies. For the Lions, can we see this offense getting a little bit more of a groove? They just never got going last week, man. It was it was tough to watch. I know Micah was out there tearing it up. Rest in peace, Micah Parsons, which is rest in Packers, of course. Just want to see if these Lions can return a little bit of that Johnson magic back, even though that they don't have him anymore. Obviously, I think Detroit will be really sad if they lose to the Bears here. I think it's right in the NFL universe for the Lions to squeak one past the Bears here. Keep the an NFC North hierarchy where it is. Broncos Colts. Is Daniel Jones him? Is this the second coming of Peyton Manning? Probably not. But I mean, how good is he going to look against the better defense, right? I mean, the Dolphins kind of threw the towel in on that one. This Broncos defense is probably one of the best in the league, especially that pass rush. And how is Daniel Jones going to hang out in the pocket with that sort of pressure coming at him? We'll see. I think if he has another really successful game, the narratives are going to get pretty wild. I would throw a little bit of cold water on Colts optimism. Sorry. But maybe they can be a sneaky playoff team this year. For the Broncos, Bo Nix was awful last week. I think it was him and Russell Wilson competing for worst QB. Last week is probably the worst game of his pro career, even though he started off pretty rough, playing pretty poorly in his rookie season. I think this was probably still his worst game. Against the defense, it was not overwhelming. I mean, if you're really, really struggling like that against the Titans, it's, I know that they were throwing some pretty creative stuff at him. But you're going to get more of that from Lou Anarumo out of these Colts. If Bo Nix can look better, I think Broncos fans will breathe a sigh of relief across the nation. But if not, that does not spell good things for the Broncos. I also am really interested to see Lou Anarumo obviously kind of got scapegoated in Cincinnati last year. He's coming into a more talented defensive roster with a little bit more veteran talent on it. Is he going to continue to put up great weeks, call great blitzes and stuff like that? Do we get more Latu interceptions? Probably not. But if Lou can continue, I really like the narrative of Cincinnati scapegoating this guy just for him to go and elevate the Colts defense to a level it hasn't been playing at for a while. I'm still going to go Broncos on this one. I think Bo Nix looks a little bit crisper, and Sean Payton is able to navigate through the Lou Anarumo stuff. And I really just don't trust Daniel Jones. Sorry, Colts fans. Sorry. Panthers, Cardinals. Man, Bryce Young and Caleb Williams, really both of them. Bryce Young, how many weeks of stinking it up this year does he have before the Panthers bench him again? Really, I mean, we're talking about Halloween here, Thanksgiving. How bad does it have to look before they sort of throw the towel in on there and put him back on the bench? I know it's early, but I don't think the leash is that long. He had a good run at the end of last year, obviously, and finally sort of showed that potential, but he's playing terrible defenses. There was a string of terrible defenses to set that up for him last year. I don't think the Cardinals are a terrible defense. I think the Cardinals are probably a sneaky good defense this year and are going to surprise some people in that facet. After the Cardinals invest a lot of resources in that side of the ball during the offseason. We'll see. I'm going to project a slight win by the Cardinals, maybe a field goal lead in the end. Super Bowl rematch, Eagles-Chiefs. I think the Eagles will probably stomp on them. The Eagles' passing offense was looking pretty funky last week against the Cowboys. I think we pretty much only ran zone against them. We didn't see those receivers get involved at all. Unfortunately for me, Jalen Hurts' scrambling was pretty much able to win that game for them, on top of Saquon Barkley being Saquon Barkley. But he didn't have an overwhelming performance. It was a good game, don't get me wrong, but that's not the reason that they won. It really was Jalen Hurts scrambling, and fucking Spags knows how to call QB spy. You know what I mean? And so if the passing attack continues to be anemic for the Eagles, I think these Chiefs are going to just choke them out. Speaking of the Chiefs being anemic, though, We're back to this dink and dunk crap that we saw last year from the Chiefs offense. Come on, man. I would really love for Hollywood Brown or somebody to step forward and just make some big plays, man. A little bit of explosiveness never hurt anybody. I thought Patty looked all right, but it's been a while since we've seen him have an elite performance. I think he's no longer the best quarterback in the league. He's kind of drawn even with guys like Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. And I think that probably pisses him off that he's not the universal QB1 anymore. And I want to see that rage channeled into defeating the Eagles this week. I think I probably would project the Eagles to win again. Obviously, as a Cowboys fan, I'm hoping for the Eagles to drop this one. Falcons Vikings. They're not even bringing Young Hoku to this game. They are pretty mad about that loss to the Bucs, which I understand. Really, the narrative in this one is going to be, can the Falcons be a little bit less stubborn with their offensive play calling? I mean, maybe don't just throw Drake London on the same route 3 plays in a row. It's just a thought. I don't know. You could call different plays sometimes. It's allowed. It's legal. Can Michael Penix still look good? I thought he had a good game last week. Maybe not, excellent, but he was still good. If he can have another good game, I think Falcons will feel a little bit more confident in him and maybe cut him loose to just play out of structure a little bit more. Even though that's not really his thing, I want to see him getting out of the pocket and rushing a little bit more. McCarthyism is back, ladies and gentlemen. A really thematic and exciting last-minute surge from J.J. McCarthy last week. I hope that he can take that confidence and come into this one with a little bit more confidence. Come into the game starting up crisp. I think that would be excellent. Well, we're just about to kick off here. I'm going to hop off, probably get back on here and talk about how the week went later. Thanks.